Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most incredible stories of human resilience and collective courage in history, the Miracle of Dunkirk. Imagine a moment where everything seems lost, where hope is a flickering candle in a hurricane of despair, and then, against all odds, a nation unites to perform the seemingly impossible. That's exactly what happened in May and June of 1940. So, buckle up, because this is a story that truly shows us what we're capable of when we stand together. Let's set the scene. It's May 1940, and the world is holding its breath. The German Blitzkrieg, a terrifying new form of warfare, has ripped through Europe with an almost unbelievable speed. France, which just weeks before seemed impenetrable, was collapsing. The British Expeditionary Force, along with significant French divisions, found themselves in a catastrophic trap. More than 400,000 Allied soldiers were cornered on the beaches of Dunkirk, a small coastal town in northern France. Their backs literally to the sea, hemmed in by the relentless German army, with tanks rolling ever closer and artillery raining down devastation. It was a dire situation, a complete disaster unfolding before the eyes of the world. For many, it felt like the absolute end of the British Army, perhaps even the end of Britain's fight in the war. The sheer scale of the threat was overwhelming, an entire army facing annihilation. As bombs tore through the sky, and the acrid smell of smoke filled the air, thousands upon thousands of soldiers waited. They waited on the vast open sands of Dunkirk, exposed, vulnerable, and with nowhere to go. They had been forced to abandon their heavy weapons, their tanks, and their artillery during the rapid retreat. All they had left were their rifles, their uniforms, and an increasingly desperate hope. Food and water were scarce. Morale was plummeting, and the constant threat of aerial attack or ground assault loomed large. It was a picture of utter helplessness. But across the narrow English Channel, back in Britain, a different kind of message was echoing through radios and, more importantly, through the hearts of ordinary people. Prime Minister Winston Churchill's defiant words, "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender," resonated deeply. The call for rescue, for an unimaginable effort to bring these stranded men home, had begun. A nation, staring into the abyss, decided it would not give up. From the historic port of Dover, a man named Admiral Bertram Ramsay was tasked with an almost impossible mission. He launched what would become known as Operation Dynamo. This wasn't just a military operation, it was a desperate, audacious gamble against time and overwhelming odds. The plan was simple in concept, but terrifyingly complex in execution. Evacuate as many soldiers as possible from Dunkirk's beaches and harbor across 20 miles of treacherous sea, back to England. Every available vessel was called upon. Naval warships, yes, but also fishing boats, sturdy lifeboats, and even luxurious private pleasure yachts. These incredibly varied vessels, crewed by naval personnel and brave civilians alike, steamed across the English Channel. They braved enemy fire from German aircraft and coastal batteries, navigated minefields, and faced the unpredictable challenges of the sea itself, all in a frantic race against time, and against the looming threat of complete annihilation for the trapped soldiers. And this is where the story truly becomes legendary. Among the official naval vessels, something extraordinary happened. Over 800 civilian boats, the little ships of Dunkirk, joined the mission. These weren't warships. These were small fishing trawlers, pleasure crafts, river barges, even dinghies, all commandeered or volunteered by their owners. Ordinary men and women, fishermen, teachers, dock workers, shopkeepers, farmers, civilians with no military training, risked their lives. They piloted their small boats directly into the chaos, under constant air raids, weaving through the burning wrecks of larger ships. They shuttled back and forth from the beaches, where larger naval vessels couldn't get close enough due to the shallow waters, pulling thousands of exhausted, shell-shocked soldiers from the sands. They ferried them to the waiting destroyers and larger ships anchored further out. What began as a desperate retreat, a military catastrophe, was transformed into an act of unparalleled civilian courage and self-sacrifice that the world would never forget. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of a people determined to help their own. By the time Operation Dynamo officially concluded on June 4, 1940, an astonishing 338,826 troops had been rescued. Think about that number for a moment. Over a third of a million men pulled from the jaws of defeat. It was an outcome that stunned everyone, including the Germans, who had been confident of bagging the entire Allied force. Britain, having faced the very real prospect of losing its entire fighting army, had escaped total destruction. For now, this incredible rescue became known as the Miracle of Dunkirk. It wasn't a military victory in the conventional sense. It was a triumph of the human spirit. It turned a catastrophic military defeat into a powerful symbol of defiance. It proved that bravery, unity, and an unwavering will can rise even from the ashes of disaster. The sheer scale of the evacuation galvanized the British people and gave them a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The Battle of Dunkirk and the subsequent evacuation was not a victory measured in weapons or conquered territory. It was a profound victory of will, of spirit, and of national character. It was the moment a nation, standing alone against a seemingly unstoppable enemy, refused to surrender its principles or its people. It demonstrated to the world that even in the darkest hours, courage and unity can spark hope. For many historians, Dunkirk was the first spark of Allied unity, the first sign that the tide could, eventually, be turned. It provided the fighting force that would, one day, return to Europe and ultimately win the war. It was a moment that reshaped the narrative of World War II, showing that even when facing overwhelming odds, the human spirit can shine brightest. What an incredible story of resilience and togetherness. It reminds us that even when things seem impossible, there's always strength in community and an unyielding will to overcome. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of this journey through history. If you found this story inspiring, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into amazing historical events. We truly appreciate your support.